Let's see if I get lucky. I believe I pulled Aaron, so this is guaranteed, yeah. One tap. 15, 17, 7. Oh, here we go. This is guaranteed. Tiphera. Hey, now we need Tiana. Oh, 1, 2, 63. There we go. Bro, that's unfortunate, man.
Tiana と言います。よろしくお願いします。
Bro, that damaged me or not. I did, I believe, 15,000 plus 16 pulls. Big sad. Good day, everyone. Today, we will be discussing about the Season 2's second newest character, Tiphera. The Tiphera is an order character as well as a controller. Her main thing is that she's practically a gambling character, and how you play along with her depends on what kind of cards you draw. So this is really RNG based, and it could really make your runs during chaos very exciting or very detrimental. However, whenever I play her, generally speaking, it's been very fun. So let's look through her cards first. So we have the three basic cards right here: Matter Disintegration, Barrier Deployment, and Barrier Deployment. Initially, without the potentials, Barrier Deployment just gives healing, but in the later, once you unlock the big node 1, it gains shielding. So this will be talking about Phantom Seed, which is her main card, and how you play around it. This is the thing that you have to focus the most whenever you play Tiphera, and it can give you a variation of how you want to play her. She can be a support unit, she can be a healing unit, she can be a DPS unit, but it really depends on how you build her and the combination of things that you can do with the Quantum Seeds that you get. So Quantum Seeds, zero cost skill, heals for 120%, and creates 2 archetype cards. Archetype cards are the ones that you can see on the left, and they have different symbols. We'll look through them later, but each of them have their own unique effects. And if you have her at E2, there's an additive effect that can be done if you do a combination of those archetypes, and then draw one of them. Let's look through all of the other archetypes. So archetype 0, Archetype Circle, is an exhausted card that heals 72% and gains 1 AP. Really good card. Really impressive. Archetype Triangle, 72% increased damage amount for the first hit of the next attack card by 30%, up to 300%. So if you have, this really tells you that Tiphera's archetype card generation can be really scaled so much later on. So 300%, this is multiplicative, by the way. And then it's, if you have 10, you have 700. You have like more than 800 shields if you play 10 of these cards. And it buffs the next card. So you could do a combo piece wherein you play 10 of these triangles, and then you for the next card, let's say you're using 9, her extreme 5 already has an additional multiplicative increase of 200%. That's really big. And then Square, Archetype Square, heals 72% and draws 1 Archetype cards. So this gives you a way to essentially re-roll the archetype that you're picking up. But generally speaking, all of these 3 archetype cards are really good. So for the next card, Form Convergent. It's a 1 AP cost skill, it has Retain Tag, and draws 2 archetype cards. And it has the effect of doubling a random effect of those cards for 1 turn. So you use this card typically as a combo. I'd say you'd use Form Convergence first before you use Quantum Seed. In that way, you can pick the archetype cards that you want to play in a more specific manner, or you want to like zoom in or focus on like a specific effect. Or rather, you should use Quantum Seed first, and then you have the plans of using Form Convergence. That's how you should be using this. Our third card, Creation and Destructions. Any E7 players renowned, quite similar name to Lilibet's skill tree, I believe. It's a 1-cost attack card. It has 130% defense-based damage, 90% shielding, heal, 90%. You can see it does both Creation and Destruction, dealing damage as well as providing heals. And then on Harmonization, so Harmonization is a specific effect wherein when the cost of this card and action points are identical, so this is a 1-cost card. If a 1 AP, then this card will have double of all effects, which is 144, becomes 288, so on and so forth. This becomes 180, 192, heal becomes 192, so on and so forth. And then Dual Creation. So Dual Creation is an upgrade card that's 1 cost. When 2 archetype cards are created, create 1 identical card in the discard pile. So this is a combo piece for sure. You use this first and then you play a Quantum Seed. And then next would be Event Horizon, which is her ultimate skill. 2 cost cards, it's unique, it has Form Upgrade. So Form Upgrade while in hand. When archetype card is activated, increase a random effect by 100%. So this is similar to Form Convergence. And increases... It has 1 AP, draw 1, increase damage amount of the first hit of the next attack card by 40%. Okay, now we look through all of the epiphanies. So the first one heals 108. Initially 150%, I believe, and creates 3. This is a really good alternative, I believe. So from 2 it becomes 3. This allows you to have a more pull in your hands. And if you have the upgrade card, on the third creation of Quantum Seed or third use of Quantum Seed, you can already have like already more than the just having it at its base form. The second one, this is really good. This is one of the best epiphanies you can get on our entire kit. So you select 1 archetype card, and then you create one in hand and 1 in draw pile each. So it still fulfills the condition where you create 2 archetype cards. Although the only caveat is that the other one goes to your draw pile. And I believe this is the only one that can get Divine Epiphanies. So this makes it really appealing to picking up. So this would be my top tier when it comes to Quantum Seed upgrades. Next one. Draw 1, predict which archetype card will be created. Hit 1 archetype card. If predicted correctly, create the rest in the draw pile. So the main appeal of it is you want to draw... It always draws neutral cards. It doesn't have the condition where it only draws archetype, as you can see compared to the other effects. And the other upside is that if you do predict correctly, you do create 2 cards, I believe, instead of 1. So this becomes your draw engine in a sense, but it's not. This isn't like something I'd pick up if I were going to play Tiphera. Number 4. It from 0 AP it becomes 1 AP. Create 3 archetype cards in the draw pile. Draw 1 of them. Activates retain effect 2 times on 1 random card of this unit in hand. So this is great whenever you plan on doing a combo piece with one of our other Epiphany cards. We'll talk about it later. This is a good option if you have if you do plan to build Tiphera with the retain effect in mind. And it has a added condition where you have 3 more archetype cards rather than just sticking with the baseline 2 or just picking with the original effect of creating 3 archetype cards. So I'd say this is a good way of adding an additional cost. But this is all up to your prerogative whether or not you pick this card. But you do have to keep in mind that this card specifically is meant to be played with the retain effect in mind. So number 5. Quantum Seed, 1 cost AP. It becomes an upgrade card from a skill card and it's a unique card. Create 1 archetype card, and when AP is 0, create 1 archetype card in hand and draw pile each. So you can only do this once per turn. So this could be a little counterintuitive in my opinion because of archetype circle, you're creating AP and essentially you'll only be able to use this Quantum Seed card once, as it has the condition of having once per turn, and it doesn't seem like a very good option to pick. Since you're essentially just creating 2 archetype cards compared to the other cards, other epiphanies that she has. Your generation of archetype cards is kind of low. So if I were going to pick, it would be number 2. Number 3. At the same time, number 4. Number 1 would be my next tier. And then this would be on the 5th Epiphany, this would be the F tier, I believe. So S tier for number 2, A tier for 3 and 4, B tier for first Epiphany, and F tier for Quantum Seed upgrade. Form Convergence Epiphanies. So let's look through them. First one. So originally from 2 becomes draw 3 archetype cards and double effect of those for 1 turn. Being able to double 3 effects is really good. This is a really good combo piece. This would be a good default option if you don't have any of the best options or better options. So the second one is still 1 AP cost, it's still a skill card and draws 4 archetype cards. Select and exhaust 1 exhaust card in hand. So you're giving up 1 exhaustible card in order to draw 4 archetype cards. This could be good depending how you play it. Not a bad option, to say the least. Third one is a 0 AP cost, still a skill card. Change all archetype cards in hand into a different archetype card. And when you do have a retain, its retain effects is draw 1 additional archetype card. So this is a really good card in the event that you generate a lot of archetype cards and you don't hit the ones that you want. This is a way to shuffle those types into different types. So you can go from circle, go in triangle, but it's still a random effect. But this is a really good card. Number 4, 1 AP cost. Select and exhaust up to 3 cards. Exhaust those cards from all 3 exhaust cards from all cards. Draw 1 exhaust card for each exhausted. Quite a handful to say, but it's essentially you have the option to select and exhaust 3 cards and draw an additional for each of those exhausted cards. This is quite similar to Veronica's card, I believe. So this is a way to basically just have draw generations specifically for exhaustible cards. Number 5. Draw 1 archetype card. Repeat until the same card is drawn consecutively, maximum 6 times. This is a gamble card. So if you're a fan of the gameplay of Tiphera wherein you gamble really hard, I personally won't do this. So if I were going to tier them up, 1 and 3 would be my picks. And then for B tier it would be, for A tier rather, it would be 2 and 4. And then number 5 would be my wild card, I guess. Okay, Creation and Destruction. So for the baseline upgrade, it will upgrade to 180%. This has the additional plus 136%. You gain more shield, you gain more healing, and it's still it's an upgrade, but it isn't like very appealing in my eyes. Second one would be, it becomes a 5-cost card. It loses the shielding and the healing, but it gains a really big amount of defense-based damage. And it gets the effect of when a card is exhausted, decrease the cost of this card by 1 for 1 turn. So you typically combo this with units that create a lot of exhaustible cards, such as the bullet characters, Senmetsu Girls herself, 9. So it's just a DPS. This would be, if you're going to build Tiphera as a main DPS, this would be the main card that she has on hand. Although you still have to have like those combo pieces of generating either those quantum seeds, not quantum seeds, archetype cards. Third one would be, from 1 cost it becomes 2 costs. It gets the retained tag, more damage, but with the decrease in both shielding and healing, and gains a retain effect wherein increases all effects by 100% until activated, so up to 4 times. I'm not sure who would use this, in my opinion. Unless we're trying to build like a Orleia deck along with Tiphera, but I'm not too keen in using this. Number 4 is an upgrade card. It becomes a unique when AP is 0. This is in conjunction to the other, I believe, Form Convergence, or not Form Convergence, Quantum Seed 5th upgrade card. So when you hit AP is 0, create 1 Creation and Destruction. So this is a baseline Creation and Destruction, and decrease the cost of those cards by 1 and apply Exhaust. It has, how I read it is that you're removing the times that you can draw, although it does give you free damage outputs because of the exhaustible Creation and Destruction. This could be a optional pick if you don't get anything. I'm not too much of a fan of it, but I do see the purpose of having this card. Okay, so the 5th one becomes a 5-cost card, 180% defense-based damage with the potential, and damage for each card of this card. For damage for each cost of this card, when a card is exhausted, randomly changes the cost of this card from 1 to 9. So this could be, if you're going to compare 2 and 5, it's either you want to be a gambler or you don't want to be a gambler. You still have to play around the fact that you need exhaustible cards on hand. So if I were gonna tier it up, I'd say consider removing Creation and Destruction from your deck if you're playing a support Tiphera. This seems kind of a waste to put in your deck, generally speaking, but if you do have to put it, might as well take the upgrade card if you have no choice. If you do plan to play DPS Tiphera, go for either 2 or 5 and use your own judgment whether or not you want to gamble or not. Okay, last card, Dual Creation. So Dual Creation, first tier. When two archetypes cards are created, create one identical card in discard pile. This is really good, quite simple, and quite straightforward. Second one. When three archetype cards are created, so from needing 2, it becomes needing 3. Create one identical card in hand and apply retain to that card. So a really good thing is that you're playing around the fact that you're trying to draw archetype card and directly putting it in your hand, and then you're giving it a retain effect. This could be a really good combo piece. And this way you can do if you have the event, if you're lucky enough to get the combinations of archetype cards, which we'll talk about later, wherein you do like certain sets of archetype cards where you can do combos like circle circle or triangle triangle or square squares. It can be a really good effect. So number 3 is it becomes a unique initiation. It still is, and when archetype square is activated, create one different archetype card in discard pile. So you're playing specifically for a square archetype. And this is I'm not sure how you're supposed to play with this. You're limiting the pool into 1 out of 3. So whether or not you hit the square really changes how you play. So if you hit it so consistently, this card becomes really a good way to generate other archetype cards. So number 4, create one of each archetype card and create one of the next archetype card. And exhausted. So 2 of the archetypes that you want, or in total, I believe. It's really good when you're doing it in chaos runs. And it being a skill card makes you able to spam the generation of archetype cards. So this is really good. I can see a use for this, because you really want to create those archetype cards sometimes. And then number 5, when an archetype card is moved to hand, duplicate that card and remove a random effect. So this means you can remove each archetype cards, generally speaking, has 3 lines in them, or at least 3 lines, and you can 2 to 3 lines, and you can remove one of those. So this is gambling dual creation, and it could be really funny whenever you play this card. But it has the fact that you have the additional effect of duplicating an effect of form 1, which is very good. But this is still a very RNG heavy epiphany. And additionally, with the effect of having 5 times per turn, you can potentially create a lot more cards with this since you're duplicating it. If I were to tier it up, 1 and 2 would be my pick default, but close A would be all 3 from 3 to 5. So basically, this is a pretty balanced epiphany pool, if I were to say. Really good. Okay, so let's talk about archetype cards. So an interesting fact with Tiphera is that, as you can see, there are symbols in this. So you must be thinking, what would happen if I play a consecutive amount of circles? So what happens is, from let's say 72% of circle, if you play another circle, it becomes 140. And so forth. It becomes 2 AP, it doubles, and it creates a new archetype along the way. So you typically want to play archetype cards consecutively. unless if you have the E2. So you can see the combo here is playing the same archetype cards and then creating the new archetype card wherein you have 3 of the set. So this becomes archetype 00 or archetype 000, so on and so forth. Really good card. Really interesting to say the least. Okay, next let's talk about partners. Personally, I still think that Nyx is the best one, since Nyx provides her main thing is that you get discard 3 cards and then you can have card draw. Really good. Her ego skill cards save Tiphera the pains of not being able to pull the proper archetype cards or not being able to generate archetype cards. But we can always say that Tiana is a pretty good option here. So I won't go through what Nyx does. We all know what she does. She's the goat of being the support class or controller class cards being the number one option for that specific class. But let's go through Tiana. So Tiana increases the combatant's defense by 8%. Multiplicative, really good effects for Tiphera specifically since her entire kit is defense based. When an assigned combatant creates 3 exhaustible cards, increase damage amount of the next card of allies by 15%. Allies specifically. So this becomes up to 30% multiplicative damage. And when the assigned combatant has activated both shield gain and heal through order cards, we have the barrier deployment from her basic cards alone, and as well as a creation and destruction doing the same thing. We grant 6% crit chance buff to all allies for 1 turn for maximum of 1 stack. Really good. So let's talk about her ego skill. Face alignment. Draw 1 exhaustible card. The next 2, an ego skill is used, draw 1 exhaustible card. Decrease the cost of the next ego skill by 1. Quite simple, quite straightforward. You're using this as a setup, as well as generally just a setup. So Tiphera and Tiana isn't a bad combination to say the least. It grants crit chance, it allows you to draw archetype cards, it buffs damage, and it's a really good option. The next one would be Alyssa. Quite straightforward. If you max this out, this gives a really good amounts of defense increase and then grants you a typical like 3% heal or recovery, which isn't bad. Her ego skill heals for 100%, gives 1 morale, and increases heal amount by 50% when below 30%. Not too bad, not too good. Another option would be Arwen. This buffs her healing and then gives the effect of Ponopoco's cheer equal to the number of months with that attack intentions, which has the effect of damage reduction. Pretty good effect. It's up to 39%. Not too bad. So if I were to choose, go for Nyx or go for Tiana. Okay, let's look through her potentials. So the best things to upgrade would be, you have to get this for sure. You're granting 10% additive critical damage buff to all allies. All allies including herself and the 2 other companions that she has in the party. So let's go through them one by one. This one, the standard increase for basic cards. You don't need this. Second one would be common cards. So these are the neutral cards that you find along the way. You don't need this. Big nodes. I'd say this is not as important as this one, but you still want to get this, definitely. Just for in the event that you go with Tiana as her partner, this is a really good option to pick up. Next would be this. Unique cards. These are a pretty substantial upgrade. 20% is a big amount, but it isn't a priority. Defense, you want this. You really want this. Big Node 2 would be plus 5% for heal and shield gain amounts to archetype cards, and defense is greater than 250, gain additional to the modifier. And then lastly, crit chance. Who doesn't want crit chance? So if I were to prioritize, it would be this. Big Note 3, defense for defense scaling. Go for this. Big Note 1, Big Note 2, and then max out these stat bonuses. You can skip the neutral cards, common cards, as well as basic card increase for potentials, not necessarily for the least. Memory fragment. So for memory fragments, you can think Tiphera can build two ways. One would be the typical glory cards. So when you have 4 sets activated, when an exhaust skill card is created or used, increase damage amount to all allies by 5% up to 15%. Good way to buff your entire team. Straightforward and really good thing to do. So unfortunately, I haven't gotten a really good defensive option for this. Since you were planning to build Glory Reigns as a more supportive kit, how I would do it is that your priorities when it comes to substats would be ego recovery, defense percent, defense flat, HP as your last option. As for main stat, you want to go HP. You could flex crit damage, could flex crit rate, depending on those substats. This one would be HP, I believe. You can also go for order damage percent. Not a bad choice, but you really have to prioritize in getting the ego recovery. If you do plan to build a support, ego recovery, defense, HP, and all the likes. And then last one would be ego recovery or defense percent, so you can hit the 250 damage defense threshold. So again, right now my entire Tiphera's kit is leaning towards ego recovery. Leaning towards more DPS options since I'm not able to hit those, unfortunately. The next option would be going for the order set. If I could find one. Right, I sold it all. You could go for the order set where if you want to build Tiphera as a DPS, you could use that. So you go for the typical crit rate, crit damage, and defense percent since he scales through defense. Let's talk about egos. Alright. Ego 1. It changes the max count of form chains for event horizon from 3 to 4. So we've talked about the event horizon and what you can do with it. So this allows us to have one more chance of rolling into a draw. And that in itself, for a character that's focused in gambling or in the generations of archetype cards, allows us to give us another chance. Ego 2. When an archetype card is activated, gain the card's shape effect. When shape effect stacks to 3, create one card consisting of stack-shaped effects. Ooh. So these are the effects. This effect can only be activated once per turn, and the shape effect is removed at the end of the turn once activated. So your first 3 archetypes used in each turn, for example, if you use circle, triangle, and square, it gets to be combined into a circle, triangle, square archetype card as an extra card. Very, very good. It gives us another way to play around her. Not too bad. Number 3. Increase additional creation of archetype resonance to 3 times. We haven't discussed what her ego skill was. Increase cost decrease effect of the next ego skill into 3. So this is her ego skill. Select and create 1 archetype cards. The next 2 to 3 times an ego skill is created, create an additional cards. This way, this ego skill is more catered towards the fact that she wants to generate more archetype cards. And in this way, this allows us to make her ego skill from 5 costs into 2 costs. You can think of it like a cashback, I guess. So it's a good dual card. Number 4. When Tiphera's archetype card is used, gain a power of archetype, which increases damage amount of attack cards of allies by 5%, increases order attribute damage of allies by 5%, and increase defense amount base damage by 5%. This is quite catered towards either you're building a DPS Tiphera or you're building just for 9. So do what you will. I wouldn't say you should pick this up. Number 5, this is just potential level. And number 6, Tiphera's unique cards receive damage amount increase effects from archetype triangle cards, but are changed to not be consumed. At the start of the battle, change archetype triangles damage amount effect from 30% to 35%, and from max X 300 to 350. It basically allows you to make creation and destruction into a more quite DPS oriented card. So if you plan to play her as a main DPS, consider getting 6, but I wouldn't. So if I were going to say 1, 2 would be my stopping point, maybe 3, and just stop there. Because pulling is quite costly in this game. Okay, so for the next section, let's talk about the save data. So what are the good equipments that we can do? And what are some of the skill combinations and card combination we can do? So Tiphera is quite complex and has a lot of ways to play, as her entire kit revolves to being a more RNG heavy kit. One way we can do this is through, let's do a basic deck here, right over here. We can create and duplicate a lot of archetype cards from having 3 to 4 copies of Quantum Seed with the first, with the Epiphany, wherein you can select an archetype card and then create it in your hand and draw pile. And we can also pair it with the draw 3 archetype cards and double the effect. So the combination here and the intent here is to do the, either you want to play AP or you want to buff damage with Tiphera. This is more catered towards being a more supportive Tiphera. So we can, so this is basically what I would typically go for whenever doing in controlled chaos runs, or whenever I'm running chaos runs without the intention of playing Tiphera as a main deck that I was trying to build towards. Another one would be, if you can recall, there's an upgrade card for dual creation wherein it focuses around the fact that you can play around squares and retain effects to the archetype cards, right? So one way to do this is that we can play this in a way where we focus in creating the square cards, which draws archetype cards. This way we have another way of generating archetype cards of different variations, but we're focused towards allowing square to pop off. Next one would be more towards having the ability to buff, I guess, like characters such as K-Rons or characters that create bullets. So here it is. We're using form convergence in a way wherein we can remove K-Ron's void card specifically to increase the damage amount that he can dish out. And this is quite a fun build. And this allows us to play K-Ron, which is a good thing. And there are so many other builds that you can do. You can always do the gambling deck wherein you just roll for the DPS cards or whatever. There are other things that you can go for, like I've said before, your gambling seed of you're gambling. You can also gamble for DPS through DPS Tiphera. And so many others. So Tiphera is quite flexible in that regard, and I'd say you should pull her. That's it. Thanks for coming by. I appreciate you all. Have a nice day.